Welcome back. This is chapter 4, The Enemy, written by Pearl S. Buck. And today I'm going to explain page number 25th, 26th to you. So here we go. Clouds were rising from the ocean now. The unexpected warmth of the past few days had at night thrown heavy fog from the cold waves. The clouds were approaching from the ocean now. The unexpected, that is, exceptional warmth for the past few days resulted in the drawing of heavy fog from the cold waves by this hot air. So, Sadao watched mist hide outlines of a little island near the shore and then come creeping up the beach below the house, reading around the pines. So what happened next that Sadao had been watching everything. He was just visualizing things, and he found that the mist was approaching, slowly approaching, and the way it the way it covered the outlines of the little island, which was at a little distance from the beach, and how it covered the entire island. Then it approached the beach, it moved slowly towards the beach, and then it reached below the house, reading about the pines, and it encircled the area of the beach. That is, it also covered the area of the beach. He was just visualizing all the things. In a few moments, fog would be wrapped about the house too, and then he just imagined that in a moment, in a few minutes, the fog would also wrap about the house. In a few minutes only, even the house would be blocked from the vision. And then he would go into the room where Hannah, his wife, would be waiting for him with the two children. And then after everything was blocked from the vision, he would go inside the house where Hannah had been waiting, or where Hannah was waiting for him with two of their children. But at this moment the door opened and she looked out, a dark blue woolen harry over her kimono. So at this moment, when the mist was covering the entire island and also the beach, she opened the door, she threw open the door, and she looked out. The appearance of his wife has been described here. She wore a dark blue woolen harry, that is, overcoat over her kimono, that was worn over kimono, a traditional Japanese costume. She came to him affectionately. She then moved towards Sadao very affectionately, very lovingly, and put her arm through his as he stood. He stood there, smiled, and said nothing. That is, he stood there, smiled, and said nothing. In the meantime, she came near Sadao, and affectionately, she came near, lovingly came near, and then put her arms through him. That is, she embraced him. He had met Hannah in America, so he had been previously visualizing the outside view, or the scenario outside, the scene outside, how the mist was approaching. Now he had been dreaming. He now got lost in the dream, or in the thought, or say he was recalling now the thoughts when he first met Hannah in America. But he had waited to fall in love with her until he was sure she was Japanese. Okay, so he met her there in America, but was not in a hurry to fall in love with her, because he was particular. His father was particular about the bride being a Japanese, pure Japanese in race, that his father would not accept anyone other than a Japanese as a bride. His father would never have received her unless she had been pure in her race. So father was very orthodox, and he would not accept anyone other than a Japanese bride. He wondered often whom he would have married if he had not met Hannah. That is, if he had not met Hannah, whom he would have married, who would have been his wife in that case, and that is why his life wouldn't have been the same if he had not met Hannah. And his meeting with Hannah had been very much by chance. That is said here, and by what luck he had found her in the most casual way, by chance literally. His meeting with her was literally a chance. It all happened by chance, by luck, at an American professor's house, and they met there at American professor's house the first time. The professor and his wife had been kind people, anxious to do something for their few foreign students. So they met there at the American professor's house, and both the couple, husband and wife, the American professor and his wife, had been very kind to the foreign students, and they were worried. They were, say, very much concerned about doing something for these foreign students. Though bored had accepted this kindness, though they were bored there, still they accepted their kindness. They had no other option. So thou had often told Hannah how nearly he had not gone to Professor Harley's house that night, and he later often recalled that incident and often said her how he nearly missed that night, how nearly he didn't go there. The rooms so small, the food so bad, or the professor's wife so valuable. Okay, so everything about the professor's house was bad. That is, they didn't like, the room was not spacious enough, small room, food wasn't good. Even his wife, professor's wife, was quite valuable, was quite talkative. Still, they had to tolerate, they had to bear all those things. But he had gone, and there he had found Hannah, a new student. That is, despite all these negative things about the professor's wife and his house, still he went there, and there he found Hannah, a new student, that night, and had felt he would love her if it were at all possible, and he felt that he should love her if that was a possibility, that is, if she was Japanese. Now he felt her hand on his arm and was aware of the pleasure it gave him. So he now felt her hand on his arm. He felt the touch of his wife, and also was aware of the pleasure it gave him, was also aware of her affection towards him. Even though they had been married years enough to have 2 children, though they had been married for quite some time now, and they had been married so long that they had 2 kids. Yet, their love, the intensity of their love, the affection for each other had not diminished at all. For they had not married heedlessly in America, and he recalls again, he says that they had not married there heedlessly, not unwisely married there in America. Or they had finished their work at school and had come home to Japan, and when his father had seen her, the marriage had been arranged in the old Japanese way. All the Sadao and Hannah had talked everything over beforehand. And they did not marry there unwisely, heedlessly, unthinkably, but they finished their studies there and then returned to Japan. And here he introduced her to his father, and their father accepted her, and the marriage was arranged in traditional Japanese way, though it was an arranged marriage. But before the marriage only, they had settled all the issues. They had talked about all the issues beforehand only, before marriage only. They were perfectly happy. She laid her cheek against his arm, and since they had talked about all the issues before marriage only, so their marriage life had been perfectly peaceful and perfectly say pleasurable or happy. Now she laid her cheek against his arm. She placed her cheek on his arm. It was at this moment that both of them saw something black come out of the mist. At this moment only, they found something black come out of the mist from the fog. It was a man. It was the man. Something black, some black shadow, say, could be seen or appeared before them, and when they looked at the shadow quite closely, they found it was a man. He was flanged up out of the ocean. Flanged, it seemed, to his feet by a breaker. So he was flanged. He was flanged up out of the ocean. He was thrown up out of the ocean. Flanged, it seemed, to his feet. He was thrown onto his feet by a huge wave. He staggered a few steps. He stumbled a few steps. His body outlined against the mist, and here the body was outlined against the mist. That is the only the shadow of the body was visible. His face and all was not visible, but just the outline, the shape of the body was visible to them. Now, his arm above his head, then the curled mist hit him again, and then his arms were above his head, his hands were above his head, and then the curled mist, that is the encircling mist, swirling mist, covered the vision, or covered him, blocked their vision. Was that? Hannah cried. Hannah shouted, was that? She dropped Sadaw's arm, and they both leaned over the railing of the veranda. Now she dropped his arm, and both of them leaned over the railing of the veranda. The veranda railing was there, and from there they leaned over, they looked down the railing. Now they saw him again, and again he appeared to their side. The man was on his hands and knees crawling. This time he was on his hands and knees. This the way you find the cattle walking or moving, the same way he was now on his hands and feet, crawling, simply crawling now. Then they saw him fall on his face and lie there, and then he fell on his face and lie there. This is all for now. Thank you.